in the heart of Central Texas. It's the Best of the Outdoors podcast, brought to you by Texas Fish and Game Magazine, the voice of the Texas outdoor nation. I'm your humble host, Dustin Von Warnke, author, outdoor writer, videographer, speaker, blogger, podcaster. Man, am I fired up about this show. Man, am I excited that you've taken the opportunity to download the show or stream it online, however you're listening. Well, we're back with another episode, and man, am I fired up about it. Talking a little bit this week about Hurricane Harvey and its effects in the Texas Gulf Coast area. And, we got hit by it a little bit in Central Texas, but the flooding and most of the damage, I guess, of this hurricane took place on the east side of Texas, and it was really a devastating hurricane for a lot of reasons. My wife's side of the family had 3 homes that they lost. One was her aunt, and the other 2 were her cousins. And I wanted to have Jeff Stewart on this show because he kind of did a lot of the relief efforts and recovery efforts with a couple of other people. It was just kind of a great response effort because anybody with a boat in the area, or in my area, Central Texas, started heading towards the coast as soon as the hurricane moved out and the flooding and everything ensued. And it's just a great example of the Texas spirit in Louisiana, in the case of the Cajun Navy and the Texas Navy, coming together to, help those that are in need and those that lost everything. And like I said, we have 3 family members that lost their home and everything, so this is certainly close to my heart and covering that this week. And I also wanted to talk, like we normally do, about the outdoors, hunting and fishing and that kind of stuff, which is why I have Jeff Crypto Hulk Stewart on. That's his middle name. That's his nickname online, rather, is Crypto Hulk. And I really love this guy. I've followed his writing and social media for a long time and wanted to definitely showcase what he is doing in the Best of the Outdoors podcast this week. And so we got him coming on. Before we do that, I wanted to showcase one of his pieces of writing that is online right now, an article that he wrote based around the hurricane, and we'll do that now. But as I'm recording this podcast, there's Hurricane Irma that is currently pummeling the Florida coast and the Gulf Coast area of Florida. And certainly all this is near and dear to my heart because I've got friends and family that live in the Florida area and are experiencing, some of the losses that come with hurricanes, in that area. And I really thought what Jeff wrote was really good. And he wrote this on September the 2nd. It's on his wall, Jeff Crypto Hulk Stewart. You can look this up. Really enjoyed reading this. And it goes something like this. As I'm down in the flood-devastated areas for this past week, I could not help but notice that this is America. Hundreds upon hundreds of boats and thousands of people selfishly going down to dangerous floodwaters to help those who cannot help themselves. Bass boats, bay boats, catfish and crappie rigs, canoes, kayaks, john boats, rubber dinghies, airboats, duck boats, and even I had a guy show up with a truckload of swimming pool floats because that's all he had. This is America. No one cared what color anyone was or what bathroom they peed in or who they went to bed with. No one cared who voted for who. We just cared. This is America. Every redneck, hillbilly, hick, Cajun, Yankee, and other noun you can think of showed up in force. Some went in debt and bought a new boat or borrowed their uncle, father, or neighbor's boat just to come. This is America. Those who could not come sent boats, motors, food, fuel, money, and whatever they could along with those rolling out to help. This is America. Tens of thousands have gathered diapers, food, water, and every other need a person might have, and they are being taken to the affected areas on trucks and trailers. Supplies are coming by the trunk loads and tractor loads. This is America. Law enforcement agencies and officers from all over Texas and Louisiana working as volunteers, drawing no pay to be here, rescuing people. This is America. All these people traveled hundreds and thousands of miles on their own money, missing work with no pay, giving up vacation days if they had them, sleeping on floors and truck seats when and if they slept at all, wet from head to toe for days on end, eating whatever they can find and little of that, willingly and gladly. This is being done right now. This is America. I really thought that was a great Facebook post. I mean, that really shows that we unite and bring everybody together, how we work together as a team, especially with the Texas spirit, which is why I wanted to cover this on this podcast, aside from the hunting and fishing and outdoor stuff that we normally cover. And one of my friends that is a friend of the Best of the Outdoors podcast and also a friend of Texas Fish and Game, set up or actually was part of setting up a webpage for helping Houston get their home back, and it's called bowcityrelief.com. That's bowcityrelief.com. I'll put that in the show notes. You can request help, or you can give help, and the tools of financial assistance, volunteering, so on and so forth, whether you live in or outside the East Texas, Houston corridor, and really some good stuff going on there. One of the other guys that I listen to on podcast all the time is John Clay Wolf. He has a car buying show on the radio where he is on several stations throughout Texas and the radio live on Saturday mornings. And he has something called Operation Airdrop, and you can find that at operation-airdrop.com. That's where he's a pilot, so he united a bunch of pilots together, and they made an incredible relief effort together, and there are ways you can support that as well. So Bayou City Relief and Operation Airdrop are the two I wanted to showcase on the podcast this week. And, if you have it in your heart, whether you live inside or outside of Texas, I know we have listeners all over. I mean, we're definitely devastated by this disaster, but that's not going to keep us down. The Texas spirit is certainly different from a lot of other areas in the world as we kind of band together and do well for our own. And I'm really excited about, that message of hope and inspiration to the outdoor lifestyle that we're going to be showing today on this podcast. So here is my interview with Mr. Jeff Stewart. Joining us on the phone is Mr. Jeff Stewart with Texas Fish and Game Online and the blog of Texas Fish and Game and also our magazine. Mr. Jeff Stewart, welcome to the Best of the Outdoors podcast.
You are very welcome. It is my pleasure to be here.
You've listened to a lot of our shows, and you and I have talked on social media, especially on Facebook and on Facebook Messenger, about having you on the show. And I couldn't think of a better time to have you on than in the middle of this Hurricane Harvey recovery effort and everything, because you're in the middle of it in a lot of cases and helping with the rescue and relief efforts of those people in East Texas. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started. Give us a little background on you.
Well, I grew up in the Sabine River bottoms here in East Texas, Panola and Shelby County. Basically, I had a gun in my hand, and I could track and trail animals before I could walk and talk really good.
That's great. So you started young.
Yeah. I mean, at 6 months of age, my dad wrapped me in a blanket, put me in the sack of his squirrel hunting vest, put some milk in there with me, and he would take me hunting, stop and feed me along the way. I mean, literally, I was in the woods at 6-8 months old.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
That's just how much my dad took me.
So it ingrained in you pretty deep, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Later on, I went to school. I took animal science, went as far as I could go, had a football scholarship, and messed up my knee. But then after that, I continued on in school. I got an electronics degree from the University of Colorado. I hold a degree in theology from Baptist Christian University. And I have continued with my animal studies and have a certificate as a veterinary technician.
Oh, how cool. So you've really kind of run the gamut on the outdoors and other stuff too. That's great.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's wonderful. So tell us what you do with Texas Fish and Game. I read a lot of your articles on fishgame.com, and I know our listeners can go check that out too. But tell us the kind of stuff that you like to write about.
I like to write about my personal experiences and things growing up a lot. I like to write about back in the 70s, a lot of the old people that I was around hunting that shaped my outdoor love.
Mm-hmm.
I like to write about some things that people may not see anymore. Some of those old, I don't really know how to put it. It's just some of that stuff that modern times has kind of wiped away.
Yes.
I like to write about that and then turn right around, and I'm not afraid of jumping in a very controversial issue like we had with the hog poison and things like that, and telling people, they don't need to be that kind of guy or that kind of person in the outdoors that, is a last minute preparer and is the kind of person that just we don't like to see in the outdoors. I kind of tell people like it is, and if they don't like it, I'm not afraid of a little backlash.
Yeah, I've kind of picked that up from you, and I'm kind of getting less scared in the way of being able to kind of have an opinion in the outdoors and not worrying about what everybody thinks about it, because you're not going to please everyone. You know that as well as I do. I'll never forget that one article that I wrote. I don't know if you ever read it. This is a few months ago, around Christmas last year, actually, so it's been several months ago, but wrote an article on high fences and had Blake Marshall on the podcast. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have him back soon, but had one guy that messaged me on Facebook and wasn't even a friend of mine, just found me in one of the groups where I posted the article. And he said, "I hope you know how big of an idiot you just made yourself." And I was like, well, I made a new friend. It looks like so. Because, there's nothing wrong.
I really liked that.
Yeah.
I liked that article.
Yeah,
I thought that was a great article.
Thank you. But I knew I was going to tick some people off, is my point with that deal.
Yeah.
And,
here's the thing. If you tick people off, you hit a nerve.
Right.
They read your article word for word, and you hit a nerve.
Right.
And that's really the kind of people I want to touch. I want to hit those people that I'm going to touch a nerve. I'm going to make them think.
That are on the fence.
I'm not really doing any good.
Right.
Yeah, all the people that read my stuff that agree with me wholeheartedly and everything, I love those people.
Sure.
But they're really not the people I'm targeting when I write an article that is controversial. I want that person that disagrees with me. I want him to message me. I want them to write me, because I want to open that dialogue with them. Right. I want to find out why they think the way they do. I want to get into the I guess the good word would be the minutia of the whole thing.
Right.
And find out where their hatred or where their such fanatical support of a position comes from, and then we can work on that. We can go from there.
Right.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're going to convince me. Maybe I'm going to convince them. Maybe we're not going to do anything. But
yes,
that's where that's the direction I go.
That's what I like about your writing style, is that you're not afraid to open that discussion. I've had Dustin Ellerman on the show, who writes for us at fishgame.com and does our Department of Defense article and a column, with Stan Skinner in the magazine. He said, I'm all for having a discussion, but when it turns into this hatred and bigotry and all this other stuff and racism, politics, everything else that gets involved with it, it's not a discussion to that point, it's an argument. And I agree with that to some degree, but you and I are always trying to reach across the aisle and at least share our opinion and at least have that kind of dialogue, like you like to say.
Yeah. Recently, a very large discussion, which turned into a pretty good argument, that I was having with an individual about hunting. They were going off on how unethical it was to kill animals and all of these types of things. And I happened to bebop over to that person's page and look at some of their pictures.
Right.
And of course, they're wearing some leather tennis shoes. They're wearing some different products that animals had to lose their lives in order for them to wear these clothing products.
Good point.
And of course, I hit them with where did your tennis shoes come from? Mm-hmm. What animal didn't have to die for that leather to be skinned, tanned, and shaped and sewn into a pair of $90 tennis shoes?
Right.
And of course, that's different. Oh, really? Explain to me how an animal dying for your tennis shoes is different than an animal that I went out, I hunted, I killed, I skinned, I put in my freezer. My family eats primarily what I hunt, trap, kill, or raise in a garden.
Yes.
Tell me how we're evil, but your tennis shoes aren't.
Right.
And the stuttering started.
Yeah, that it all became instead of on your toes, on your heels, right?
Oh yeah.
No,
and that's the thing. I don't mind a good argument. I don't mind even a really intense one. But if someone's going to come at me, they need to come very well educated and very well informed, because I'm not shooting from the hip.
Right. You're coming from a good angle, right?
This is from 40 plus years of experience in the outdoors, in the outdoor industry, shooting archery 3D competitions, working at ranches, working for deer breeding operations. I mean, I've done everything from sweep the poop out of stalls to injecting vitamin shots into their haunches.
Right.
I mean, I've done all of these things. I'm not just some Johnny-come-lately that's over here just spouting his mouth off.
And you really kind of have to have that criteria to write for us. You know, a lot of people say, "How did you get that gig with Texas Fish and Game?" And I'm like, "Well, you've got to be a good communicator at the end of the day, and you've got to know your stuff, you know." And that's something you and I both excel in. So that's great.
Well, I'm honest with folks. When they ask me, "How did you get that?" I said, "Well, the first thing," I said, "I've been friends with Chester Moore for well on 12, 14 years. Right. I don't know exactly how long. I have written for longer than that, and he's read what I have written."
Yes.
And he didn't just throw me a bone because we're friends. It took years upon years, a decade or more, of him reading what I wrote.
Yes.
And then he was like, I see a little potential there, and I need some help over here at the magazine, and we've got a blog coming up, and blah, blah, blah. So I started writing blogs, and then it was like, well, I really like what I'm reading, and it wasn't an overnight thing. I mean, This took years upon years to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it did for me too. I mean, it's about proving yourself in the industry. And I'm thinking my next book that I'm going to write, Jeff, is going to be around how to quote unquote make it or be successful in the outdoor industry, because there's a lot of people kind of guard all their secrets close to the chest, and I've been criticized for kind of letting out the cat out of the bag when it comes to, teaching people how to be successful in outdoor TV, or teaching people how to be successful as an outdoor writer, or whatever the case may be. But I don't want to hide that kind of stuff. I like to spread that around and say, hey, you can do this too, and whatever you do.
Exactly. So. And, I tell people all the time, there's different levels of success and how you measure success.
Right.
I've been writing for a long time. I've got a book published right now, and about to have another book that's published. I haven't made hardly any, I'm not getting rich here.
Right.
I don't measure my success by my bank account.
Mm-hmm.
I measure my success by walking into a store and somebody says, "Man, I read your last article. I love it." Somebody says, "Man, I read your blog and I hated it." Or
that feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah. Or I walk in and some little kid hugs me because he recognized me from being on television or from being on whatever.
Right.
And some little kid hugs me and walks up and wants my autograph or something like that.
Yeah.
Those things are how I measure my success. Or if somebody stops me and says, "Tell me the truth about catching those catfish."
Right.
Is that article you wrote true? And I'm like, it's 100% true. I didn't make anything up.
Right.
I've actually went and done these things that I write about.
Yeah.
I'm not just sitting down and writing fiction here,
Right. This is all nonfiction stuff.
I've been there. I've done it. And if it's something that I haven't been there and done, I get on the phone and I talk to people that actually have, and I'm like, okay, you got to take me, and we go.
I'm the same
and we
way.
do it.
Yeah.
And I come back and I'm like going, okay, now I know. Mm-hmm. And I'm able to sit down and write about this because not only did I hear and learn from their experiences, but I went and had my own. And so that's how I judge my success, is people that say, "Thank you. I loved your article."
Right.
No, and that's enough for me.
That's enough for me too. I think that's great. And one of the things I wanted to bring to light, and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show this week, is your relief efforts and rescue efforts with Hurricane Harvey. Certainly a devastating hurricane to Texas, certainly one of the most devastating hurricanes we've had in America. Kind of give the rundown to the listeners of what you experienced out there. And I wanted to bring this to light because I didn't really know enough about the hurricane. It hadn't really fully developed when I recorded the last show. But I wanted to really showcase, because I knew we'd see this. I knew we would see Texas grit. We would see the true stick-to-itiveness of Texans. That spirit that we have of dropping what we are doing and going to help our neighbor. You want to talk a little about that?
Man, I'd love to, because I tell you what, there are some real unsung heroes.
Yes.
In our state and in Louisiana, our neighboring state of Louisiana, and all over the United States. Whenever this thing kicked off, I was contacted by a friend of mine, Rob Gooday, and he had been integral in the Cajun Navy, and he said we worked together in the zoological field. And he
Yes.
said, brother, would you help get these boats and things coordinated? And so I sat in my home for 24 hours, and people from all over the United States were calling me, where do I need to come? Where do I go? And I'm coordinating with FEMA, and I'm finding out where rally points are where these guys can bring their boats so they can get them in the water. And then I'm sitting here, and I'm like, you know what? This isn't enough for me. And I put a call out, and I said, do I have any friends that want to go? And immediately I had 2 friends.
Wow.
Doc Shernigan and Lee Gibbs, who messaged me and said, let's go. And I said, be at my house 5 o'clock in the morning. We'll go into my boat and we'll go. 5 o'clock in the morning, they were here. We hooked onto my boat. We headed down. We made it as far as we could. Out there, the roads were closed. So we just put our boat in the water and we started rescuing. And we spent the next 2 days wet and cold, pouring down rain. I mean, I had a poncho. I gave my poncho away to a lady with a baby that was in my boat. She needed it, and that baby needed it worse than I did.
Sure.
And we did our thing. And, I mean, we went hungry. We went cold. We went wet. We stayed that way for days. We were waiting around in water that now we have to have a gamut of shots for all kinds of
diseases and everything that could kill you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
we didn't care at the time. We knew people needed help, and not just us, but I had people from Michigan that called me, we're coming, we're bringing boats. Kentucky, I had guys from Kentucky that like, look, we got airboats. They brought their bow fishing boats down and said, we got this stuff and we're coming. They came, Louisiana. I mean, I even got a call from guys from California that had bought a boat on Craigslist in Longview, Texas. They drove from California to Longview, Texas, picked up that boat, and then drove to Houston. Thank goodness the boat did not run when they got there.
Yes.
These guys had the greatest of intentions and the biggest hearts, but they had no experience in a boat. Doing anything like this, and thank goodness. And I had them, they were able to help. I had them stand on land and help launch boats and help load boats back on trailers. It just ended up being one of the greatest displays of humanitarianism, love, affection. And, you know, one of the things I wrote about this, I wrote an article called This is America. And that was the America that I loved. You know, we hear about all this stuff on the news, you know, everything's a bigot or a racist, or if you're a redneck, you know, you're the scum of the earth because you hate everybody. Well, these were nothing but rednecks that showed up down there. These were guys in their bass boats, in their crappie rigs or catfish boats. I mean, there were guys that showed up in dinghies with trolling motors on them. And I kid you not.
I love it.
And, you know, you look out there and you just wondered, you know, these are the people that are supposed to be the most hateful, these are all conservative people, Christian people that are supposed to be the hateful people.
Right.
And they were out there. They didn't care what bathroom you went to. They didn't care what color you were, what church you went to, whether you went to church or not. Nobody cared about any of that. We didn't care who you voted for. We didn't care nothing. We didn't want to know your legal status in the country. We didn't want to know any of that. All we wanted to know is, do you want to go to hell? Do you want to go to safety? Do you need something?
Sure.
And we gave away our own rain gear. We gave away our own food. We gave away our own water to people that had less than we did.
Oh,
that's
so
the
awesome.
America.
Yeah.
That's the America that I love. That's the America that I want the world to see. That's the America that everybody needs to see. That's the Texas that is just so ingrained in my blood and in my heart. That's the Texas I grew up in. I didn't grow up. My parents did not teach me to dislike someone because of any reason other than they're not a good person.
Right.
You know, I was never taught that because of the color of someone's skin or because of any of that, you know, who they go to the bedroom with or whatever, you dislike that person automatically. I was taught that this person over here deserves everything that you deserve. because you are raised a certain way. You are raised a Christian or whatever, and as I was. And, you know, if you judge somebody, you're going against what the good book teaches.
Right.
And so my heart was pulled on to go help somebody.
And you're really
My
loving your
only
neighbor
regret
as yourself, you know. I mean, that's really what the golden rule. I didn't want to interrupt you, but go ahead, continue.
No. You're 100% right. This pulled on my heart.
Sure.
This something spoke to me, something higher. Look, I'm a big guy. I'm 6 foot tall, 300-pound guy. I'm a large guy. I've got bad feet. I suffer from psoriatic arthritis in my feet. I have nerve damage in my feet. I really and honestly, as my wife said, you have no business being down there doing this. Whatever spoke to me in my heart, I happen to believe that it was my faith, my Lord, that spoke to me in my heart.
Yeah.
Other people, you know, they have their own path to walk. This is my path.
Sure.
And it spoke to me and said, we need you. People need you. And I got up and went. Now, we had a lot of people here that couldn't go, but they sent things. They sent food. They sent blankets. I had a company here that sent a pair of waders with me the second time I went. After I ruined my boat, I knocked a hole in my boat and stripped the gears in my motor. Came home, got another boat, borrowed another boat from a friend, and went back. And on the way back, I had a Wings and Whitetails. I don't mean to plug on your show.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
They gave me, the guy that owns the place gave me a pair of waders. I called him and I was like, look, I don't have any money right now, but I'll bring you my 44 Magnum pistol. You can hold it until I get back from down there and get paid.
As
collateral. And then I'll pay you for these waders.
Right.
Yeah. And he said, I have no problem with that. He said, but you don't need to bring me your gun. He said, I know you. You wouldn't be down there doing what you're doing if you were a criminal or a crook or if you were trying to get one over on me, you know. And he said, come get them.
Sure.
And then he gave me more things to help out. He really did. He was like, you know, no problem. You know, here, we're going to help you. Here's something for gas. He helped us buy gas to go down there and back on, stuff like that. And we had other people that didn't go, that didn't have any money, that literally are living hand to mouth, that went in their own pantries and pulled out soups and bread and crackers and anything they had
to give. Yeah.
And that's Texas. That's the America that I love.
Well, I'd like to say, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What was the title of your article again? Called That's America, or what was it called?
This is America.
This is America. I read that and was so inspired. That's why I really wanted to have you on the show, because, and you can find that, folks, on Jeff's Facebook page. And how do they find you there, Jeff? You have an interesting middle.
Crypto Hulk Stewart. That's my nickname. Crypto
Hulk Stewart. Yeah. So, and there's a picture of you in the recovery effort as a profile picture. But, you know, I like to have, you know, I'd like for people to go read that, because that really summarizes the Texas spirit and the American spirit of people even from outside of Texas, because we're known for our hospitality in the state, for those of us that are living outside of the state. But as far as the response, if you compare this, and I'm not making anything racial or political here at all, but you compare this to Katrina, you compare this to Hurricane Katrina in that regard, you know, you had a lot of people with their hands kind of out going, government, come help. Here in Texas, when Rita came along after Katrina, you know, we really went into action, and we closed I-10 going, you know, east, and put both I-10 lanes going west, you know, and we really sprung into action. It's just the grit that, and I'm not saying anything against Louisiana, I'm just saying that we just have a muscle when it comes to helping other people.
We do. We really do. And, you know, one thing that touched my heart while I was there is I had stopped. We had actually ran over a box of roofing tacks that someone had lost, like a 50-pound box. 20 tires were ruined, trailers and truck tires in our convoy. Some of these tires had 15 and 20 roofing nails in a tire. Harris County got a local tire shop that was closed because of the flood to open up. and Harris County paid for us either new tires or our tires that could be fixed were fixed. While I was getting that fixed, I was at a gas station across the road getting a cup of coffee, and this elderly African-American gentleman, he walked up to me and he said, "Have you been down doing this rescue?" And I said, "Yes, sir, we have." And he said, "Can I take your picture?" And I said, "Yes, sir, you sure can." And he took my picture and he started crying. And he said, "You got to excuse me, son. I'm a little emotional." I said, "Sir, this is an emotional time."
Sure. Yeah, it is.
And he hugged me and he said, "Do you mind if we talk a little bit?" And I said, "No, sir. I'll talk with you all day long." He said, "I've never thought in my life I would see this." And I said, "What did you see? I mean, what the flood? Are you talking about?" He said, "No." He said, "I never thought I would see all these white boys down here doing this, saving us." And I said, "Well, sir," I said, there's no thanks needed. You know, he was just being so thankful and everything. And I said, "We're all human beings."
Yes.
He said, "I know." He said, "But with all this stuff that's going on lately," he said, "all of you boys is down here," you know, he said, and he used a word that I will not use, referred to himself as a word. And I told him, I said, don't do that. I said, "You deserve way more respect than that." He said, "But it's true." He said, "Y'all are down here saving us when we won't save ourselves." And I said, "You're in a bind. And the Bible says if your ox is in the ditch, get it out."
Yep. Jesus said
and I
that.
said,
Yep.
I said, "All you folks down here in Houston, y'all are us. Y'all are us. We're all Texans. Y'all are us. Your skin color don't matter. Your religion, your everything, none of that matters." I said, "I've seen folks down here that are from Vietnam. I've seen folks that are Hispanic. I've seen folks that are African American in boats. I've seen every color, every religion, every creed of person in a boat down here saving folks." And he cried and he said, "Will you pray with me?" And that brought me to tears.
Oh, I'm sure.
And he and I sat there and we started praying. And before we knew it, we had 6, 7, 8 people that had come and put their arms around us. Every person that was in that store came and put their arms in a group with us, around us, and we prayed. And that was such a powerful moment because this gentleman, evidently he had bought into the rhetoric that, you know, we're all a bunch of hateful Trump voting rednecks.
Right.
And we want the ruination of anyone that is not like us. And he saw firsthand that was not true.
Yeah.
And it really spoke volumes to me. He and I talked for the whole time our tires were getting fixed. He and I talked for a good 45 minutes to an hour, and was probably one of the greatest conversations I've ever had in my life with another human being.
That's great.
And it broke my heart because to see that the mainstream media has people of such great caliber as this man was.
Yes.
Believing in all this sensationalism that they're putting on TV. They're not putting on TV the good stuff that's going on. They only focus on the bad because that's what sells.
Well, and my wife reminds me that I tell her this all the time, but in news, you know, if it leads, it bleeds is kind of the going phrase and has been for mainstream media for many years. That's what people want to focus on. But I mean, really, and I guess that's what the human emotion goes after a lot of times is feeling sorry for other people, or I don't have it as bad as they do or whatever. But the case made here in the Hurricane Harvey relief effort is that we all pulled together regardless of our political views or race. And that's what your article, eloquently put so well, is that America helps its own. We take care of each other. We love on each other. All that BS just goes away of all of our differences when we're in a crisis situation like we were with this hurricane and the flooding.
Exactly. And one of the things I saw that just took me aback was with all of this relief effort still ongoing, people being fed, people being housed, people being clothed by other good people. Headline news, as I turned on my television, was a statue of Robert E. Lee somewhere here in Dallas or in Texas that's being torn down. And I'm going, really? This is news?
Yeah.
This is something that when we got people that are homeless and starving and don't know what they're going to do to get back in a home. There really is somebody here in Texas, in a big city somewhere, that still thinks that tearing down a statue of Robert E. Lee is going to make a difference to anybody.
Yeah. That's a good point. And I had 3 family members on my extended family on my wife's side that were displaced from their home, and they waited to the last minute before they left. They left with nothing, and they've lost everything. You know, I mean, these are the things that we need to be concentrating on, is helping these people rebuild from nothing, not necessarily, you know, the racism or the statues or any of that other stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right. There's people that I've got down there right now. I've still got some of my volunteers that are down there that once the rescue effort was over, they just parked their boat and went to helping, that are helping people get their homes cleared of these wet mattresses and all of these things out of their homes to see what they can or can't salvage, because there are some places down there that the government is not deeming 100% loss. Mm-hmm. So these people are going to have to try to salvage their home. And I've got pictures. I've got friends that are sending me pictures saying, man, this lady's home is a total loss, but yet she's not going to be able to get any help to rebuild. So she's going to have to do this. So they're stripping sheetrock free of charge, you know, stripping sheetrock off the walls. I can't help but wonder in my mind, though, you know, once you get all this sheetrock and all these things stripped, where's this nice lady going to get the money to buy truckloads of sheetrock to go back on those walls?
Yeah.
Now, we do have people that are going to volunteer and help some of these folks to put that sheetrock up. We have some good, nice folks, but at the same time, they don't give that sheetrock away.
Yeah,
they don't give that plywood away.
Yeah.
They don't give away buckets of screws and nails and paint and all of those things. And I just can't help but wonder, some of these people, some of the homes I went to didn't even look like human beings ought to have been living in them to begin with.
Wow.
They were in such bad shape. Down on the Port Neches River, down around Evadale and Vidor and on down in there, very rural settings. This wasn't in town kind of things. And, you know, you sit there and go, everything these people owned was probably in that house. Mm-hmm. Everything. They didn't have insurance. They didn't have things like that. They were living paycheck to paycheck. And you're looking at this going, who's going to help these folks?
Yeah.
Well, you know, these are the folks that are really going to need the compassion and the help, because it was horrible. I mean, literally pulled up, heard a dog bark, pulled up, and there was nothing but a wall of poison ivy and poison oak. It didn't even look like a house. And as we pulled up, I hollered out, "Hello, anybody need help?" Because if nothing else, I was going to grab the dog. And the bushes parted, and somebody hollered, "What?" Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Jeff was the Texas Navy. We're here to see if you need some help. And they said, "Nope, we got a boat." And all you can do is tell people okay and then leave. You can't force them to leave. You can't force them. And the water, they were on the second story of this house, and it looked like it was about to fall down. And you're sitting here going, what do you do? You know, and these poor folks, they're trying to salvage, they're sitting there trying to save what little bit they've got.
Right.
And my heart broke. You know, my heart broke to the pets. And I want to say this to everybody listening. If anything like this, any kind of tragedy like this ever happens, and you can't take your pets with you, open the kennel and let them out.
Yeah.
Unchain them and let them free. A little bit of chance of survival is better than a 100% death warrant.
Right.
We went into kennels where dogs had been treading water probably for a couple of days. We went into houses where dogs were still chained and were dead because they were chained up and had been left. There were places like kennels. There were even shelters that just abandoned 75 to 100 dogs and left them chained up. I'm not chained, but left them
in kennels,
closed up in their kennels.
Right.
And I tell people, if you can't take them, because there were Coast Guard and National Guard that were getting people out that were not letting them take pets with them. It was humans only.
Sure.
And,
that's hard. I mean, that's really hard.
Yeah, and the thing is, those dogs could have swam over and got on a rooftop somewhere.
Yeah.
They could have found a little high ground. If nothing else, they would have had a slight chance.
Sure.
Because we did grab dogs off of rooftops. We did grab pets that were swimming. We grabbed deer. Some of our guys grabbed deer that were swimming out there and put them on their boats. The hardest thing, and this is so weird because I hunt coyotes, but the hardest thing I had to do is I came up on about, I'd say it's about a 12 or 14-week-old coyote puppy. And he had a broken back leg.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't do anything but put him down.
Right.
Every time I tried to grab him, he was trying to eat me up.
Mm-hmm.
He was scared. And I wasn't going to let him lay there and suffer. So, I put him down. And it broke my heart. And people are like, but you shoot 100 coyotes a year. Yeah. And I said, it's a big difference in shooting one and putting one down than seeing one suffer. I don't want to see a coyote suffer. No. I don't like that. They kill my deer. But, at the same time, I would not shoot one in the leg and break it and watch him limp off.
Right. And that's the thing. A lot of people have issues with us as hunters, is where these ruthless killers, especially the anti-hunter community in PETA and, so on and so forth. And, we love those animals just as much as the activists that are for animal rights do in a lot of ways, because we harvest ethically, most of us at least. A lot of us eat what we kill or donate it. There's just that we have feelings too, is my point.
Yeah, and here's the thing I tell them. I know, and I can track most every dollar I've ever spent on conservation. Mm-hmm. Can they?
Yeah.
I know all the families that I have fed with hundreds and hundreds, probably over the years, thousands of pounds of hog meat, deer meat, and everything else, fish, everything I've caught. So I've had people literally call me on the telephone and say, look, we know a family down here and they're on hard times. Do you have any deer meat or anything that you can spare? And I've literally loaded up 3 garbage bags full of sausage that, I paid for its preparation.
Sure.
Deer hamburger, deer steaks, all of these things, deer jerky even, and taken it down and donated it and said, here, give this to the people that need it.
We have hearts. We really do.
I've killed hogs, and I've got on the phone when I didn't want them. I've got on the phone, and I've called 10, 15, 20 people and found somebody that says, man, yes, please bring us those hogs. We'll skin them now.
Sure.
I've taken them and given them. So, when these animal rights people say, we're ruthless, bloodthirsty hunters, I like to ask them, how many deer have you ever gotten out of your vehicle, walked across a ditch, and got their foot out of a barbed wire fence that was hung up? Mm-hmm. I know I have. I know lots of hunters who have.
Sure.
I know lots of hunters who have risked their lives on icy ponds or in very deep mud around the edge of a pond where a deer's gotten stuck. I know lots of hunters that have gotten themselves in some pretty sticky situations saving an animal. The same animal they're hunting, but the thing is, just because we hunt it doesn't mean that we don't love it. Yes. We love these animals. We want to see them flourish. We want to see them, and anybody that says that they're a hunter and they're out poaching or they're doing the bad things, that's not a hunter. That's right. A poacher.
No, I agree.
There's a big difference between a hunter and a poacher. We would never want to shoot or kill the last animal of anything. We wouldn't hunt an endangered species. Now, I get a lot of backlash from the people that go and like hunt the lions and hunt elephants and things like that. And it's kind of a double-edged sword for me because I don't want to go and hunt one. But at the same time, I've done the research, and the areas where these animals are being hunted, the animals are flourishing. The areas where these animals are not allowed to be hunted, their numbers are declining because where they're being hunted, there's the people are stopping the poaching. Where they're being hunted, tens of thousands of dollars of every single hunt go back into the community. $100,000 goes back into conservation, pays for wardens, pays for rangers, pays for bullets and guns and all of these things that stops the poaching. And so it's a double-edged sword. Even though I personally don't want to hunt one of these animals, I see the benefit of the legal, proper, regulated hunting of them.
Well, I can't agree with you more, Jeff, because that all being said, and I've brought this up with Tim Jackson when I had him on the podcast a few podcasts ago. You know, he hunted in Africa recently, and he basically said, you know, if there's no value on their lives, just like here in the state of Texas with our exotics and our hogs, if there's no value on their lives, they're seemingly worthless then to the population there, aside from killing them for food or killing them because of depredation as far as predators go with lions and those kind of apex predator animals. You know, if you don't have that kind of respect for that animal, if you don't to hunt them, they'll go away. You know, that's my point.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and you know, we as hunters, we are the conservationists. No animal that has ever been brought back from the brink of extermination was brought back by any animal rights organization. Never. In the history of anything going on in the United States or all over the world, no animal rights organization has saved a species. But hunters and hunting organizations have saved numerous species.
Mm-hmm.
The most famous of which is the Rocky Mountain elk.
Yes, very good point.
You know, the Rocky Mountain elk was on the brink of extermination, and it was brought back. We love, you know, we as hunters, we band together. You know, our hunting license fees, all of the money that we spend, a certain percentage of it goes toward conservation.
Well, and then 100% of the money, and I brought this up on licenses and stuff. I was just reading the other day when I renewed my hunting license and my fishing license, my super combo for Texas, 100% of that money goes to conservation. 100% goes to the conservation efforts. And then I get these people that are on, you and I are on Texas Hog Hunters Association. We got people on there who say, do you have to have a license to hunt hogs? And I'm like, my goodness, man, this goes to help the problem, you know? I mean, this goes to help conservation in regards of the
I love it when
animals.
When people hit me with that, but I don't have to have a license to hunt hogs, and I'm like,
or to go
fishing
or whatever.
Why wouldn't you want to buy a license?
Right.
Why do you not want to buy a license? What's the point of getting to buy a license? Now, I understand if you're Farmer Ted and you are sitting on your porch and 40 hogs come out and start rooting up your hay meadow.
Yes.
I understand you not needing to worry about a license to go in the house, grab the .6 and go blasting off.
Right.
But if you are loading up in the truck with your buddies and you've got a $2,300 AR-15 tacked out with a thermal scope on it, and you're worried about buying a $70 license, or you're worried, you don't even have to have that. You can buy just the basic license.
Yeah, a basic year-long hunting license.
But you know, you're worried about if you got thousands of dollars worth of gear and you're going out here to hunt hogs, and you're worried about buying a license. That to me, there's something that we've missed. We've done something wrong in our education process of our fellow hunters, because the point is, I buy the super combo every year with every stamp, every tag. I don't use half of it, but I buy it every year. Why? Because I know where that money's going.
Sure.
I know where that money's going. You know, I probably haven't caught a redfish that was big enough to keep in, 6 years, 5, 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Caught a whole bunch of small ones, but I've still got that redfish tag on my
on
my
license every year. Yeah. No, I haven't killed a duck yet, to be quite honest with you. And I got my duck stamp last year and didn't end up going duck hunting. This year I got it again, and that stamp's continuing to increase in price, like $28 now. But I'm just like, man, for what it goes back to, and the feds and the federal government taking, you know, and doing conservation efforts with it, it's worth buying that darn stamp. You know, it really is.
It is, because here's the thing: you and I may not want to go duck hunting. We may not even get the chance to go, but then again, we might. But the thing is, we got kids.
Sure.
Whenever my son my son's 19 years old, and he's in that stage where he's kind of drifted away from hunting, and, girls and other things are more important right now. Hey, I went through it. Everybody did. So what's going to happen in 10 years when he decides, man, I really loved duck hunting and I want to get back into it? What's going to happen if we haven't been spending that money on conservation, and in 10 years it's like, well, sorry, the federal government has stopped duck hunting because there's not enough ducks.
Mm-hmm.
There's not enough wetlands. There's no protected areas, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
I don't want to have to tell my son or I just became a grandfather. I have a granddaughter.
Congratulations.
That's
great.
Old.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, she's 3 months old. And she already owns a gun. you know what I'm saying? I've got a gun in the station here, that's got a rolling on it,
That's awesome.
The thing is, when my daughter hunted, my daughter killed her first hog with a bow when she was 11.
Mm-hmm.
Killed her first deer with a rifle when she was 14. So, she had been bow hunting long before she ever picked up a gun. And the thing is, I want my granddaughter to experience that.
Sure. I agree.
I want that conservation to still be in place. I want all of this to be there. So when that little 3-month-old baby, whenever she hits 10 years old and she says, Pete, I want a bow.
Mm-hmm.
When she hits 13 years old and she says, Pete, can I go deer hunting with you? Can I shoot one of your guns or whatever? At that point in time, I'm going to be able to say, yes, baby, we have plenty of deer. Let's go hunt them.
Absolutely. We talk about that all the time.
Let me teach you how to track. Let me teach you how to trail. Let's go out here and grab the old hawk muzzle loader that I love to hunt with, the primitive muzzle loader.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go and let me show you how to poke some powder down the barrel of this thing and chunk a big round pumpkin ball at something. I want to still be able to do that 10, 15 years from now. That's why I pay my money for my licenses. I'm glad that my tax dollars, when I buy a rifle or when I buy a shotgun, when I buy hunting-based products, a percentage of tax dollars goes to conservation.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, that's the thing we talked about on this show a lot, because Chester's got me on this conservation riff for the last, couple of years, because I listen to his show quite a bit. And, I really think it's about having the wetlands and having the not letting it all go to landscape development and so on and so forth, with the, thought that we have a hunting for the future, because there is a decline in hunting. We all know that. A lot of times if you don't grow up around it like you and I did, it doesn't really translate to the next generation, because there's so many other distractions out there of iPads and iPhones and smart tablets and everything else that they can go to, that the youth of today can go to, where they can leave the woods alone, and not do, or the water or whatever, any outdoor sports, they can just leave those things alone. But my whole point has always been to, take care of instilling that desire in our kids, that makes them want to go out there and go hunting and fishing and camping or whatever the case may be, and enjoy the great outdoors. I mean, that's really one of the precepts of the show, is really getting kids out there and with the next generation.
I tell you, if you are a hunter, whether you are an outdoors man or woman, it does not matter. But if you don't try to get every child that you are in direct influence of involved in the outdoors. Now, I'm not saying they've got to go out and take a gun and hunt or anything, but I've yet to meet a kid that did not love to shoot a bow and arrow.
It's true.
I've yet to meet a kid that did not love to catch a perch out of a pond.
Mm-hmm.
I have yet to meet any kid that I have had influence over, that I have taken with me, that even if they walked away and they did not want to go hunting, they had a different opinion about hunting, about fishing, and they could not wait to go back camping, or they could not wait to go back to the outdoors.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you're a hunter and you're an outdoorsman or woman, and you're not trying to show these youth, these children, these kids, whatever you want to call them, if you're not trying to show them the positive light and the positive aspect of hunting and giving them the knowledge of what true conservation is, the numbers about us saving animals and about saving wetlands and doing all these things for the animals.
Yes.
And if you're not doing that, then you're doing a disservice to something you love.
Yes.
You're doing a disservice to hunting and to fishing. And I'm telling you, I'm like you when you said a while ago that, people dislike you sometimes because you don't hold those secrets back about doing things. I'm the same way in the hunting world.
Yeah.
I've had people tell me, you're giving away those secrets about, how to draw in deer and how to do things and how to make deer lures in your kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, I give that away for free.
Why not?
Well, you could be bottling that and selling it. I sure could. But at the same time, I have people that message me constantly saying, man, I mixed up that scent eliminator that you gave me the recipe for, and I've never had anything work. I've had deer walk up within 5-10 feet of me, and it worked. Or people say that attractant that you gave me the recipe for, I poured it out, and last night I caught 17 hogs in my trap. And before that, I had never caught more than 2 at a time. That kind of thing. And I'm like, that's my reward. We were talking about rewards earlier and things. That's my reward.
Sure.
I love that. I love it when people say, that Jeff, he knows what he's talking about when he tells you to put this bait out, to bait your trot line with this or to do whatever. He's not just shooting you a line of bull. He's telling you the truth.
I mean, and we get criticized for giving away all the good stuff. I'm just like, man, why this is too good not to share. You know what I'm saying? I
got a good, quick little story about that. I did an article last year about Merval Lake here in East Texas. It's in Gary, Texas. And every year there is a huge crappie migration on this lake, and everybody knows about it. There's a bridge called Dodson Bridge, and everybody knows that if your boat is not parked under this bridge by 3 o'clock in the morning, you're not getting under this bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So I went with a buddy of mine. We fished. We had our limit of big slab crappie. It got daylight. Between 7 and 9 a.m., we both had a limit. That's 50 crappie slabs. We were throwing back anything that wasn't a slab. Okay. So
that's a good day of fishing.
I go home.
Right there.
I write an article. About fishing down there and everything. And the next thing you know, we're back down there fishing, and the guys didn't know who I was. They were in a boat next to us, and they start bad-mouthing the guy that wrote that article. And I'm sitting there fishing, and like I said, I'm a big old boy. And I'm sitting there, and they're just bad-mouthing. I just looked over at the guy, and I said, I'm the one that wrote that article. They got hush-mouthed real quick, and we're sitting there fishing. But the thing is, they got so mad at me, they thought I gave away a secret.
Right.
And the thing is, everybody in East Texas knows that if you want to catch crappie during a certain time of the year, December, I guess is when it was, you go to that bridge, you fish up there into that bridge. I mean, it's not a secret, but they thought I gave away their secret.
Mm-hmm.
And now they just thought people from all over the world were just going to flock there and catch all their crappie.
Give away all the good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've had that same thing happen about writing about hunting down in the national forest and about going down there and finding a good spot to hunt in the national forest. And I tell people, hey, this is where I went. This is what I did. And this is, I saw plenty of game and blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, I'm getting messages on Facebook and emails from people that are going, you sorry, so-and-so, you gave away my secret spot. And I'm like, you realize when I walked in there, I walked past 9 trucks. I walked past 9 or 10 people sitting in tree climbing stands, and I walked past I don't know how many ribbons marking trails going to stands to get to where it wasn't a secret.
Right. Yeah, but you were just doing your thing. And I mean, there's really nothing wrong with it's all about sharing the great outdoors with each other and taking care of each other. And I mean, we do that a lot in Texas. We talked about that with the hurricane relief effort, but I don't keep the cards close to my chest when it comes to things that I can help people be better at in the outdoors. And that's the whole reason why I started this podcast and it became part of the Texas Outdoor Nation, is just that I love this so much, helping other people. That's where my heart is in all this.
Exactly. I think that's one of the key things that most of us, I mean, of course, Chester's humanitarian efforts speak for themselves.
Yes.
Anybody that does not know the great leaps and bounds Chester has accomplished with the Children's Kingdom Ministries and with all of the things, oh my goodness, they just
Kingdom Zoo, yeah.
They're blind if they don't know.
Right.
Dustin, the good things Dustin is doing with his Camp His Way.
Yes. Element, yeah.
And yeah, Dustin is, I mean, he's done some great things, getting some kids involved in outdoor activities and doing all of the things that he has done.
Marksman camp and all that stuff that Ellerman does around San Rayburn. Yeah, I mean, that's just that Camp His Way. And they just built a new dorm for this summer, and that's just a really good thing. I mean, he's Mr. Top Shot. You know, I plan to have him back on the show again soon. He was just too much fun, you know.
Yeah, and you know, I sit there and I go, wow, Texas Fishing Game Magazine. I don't mean to toot our own horn, but in all honesty, it's got the best group of writers. It's got the best group of contributors, I guess is what you would call us.
Sure.
It has some of the best information of, I'm not just saying any magazine in the state. I'm saying any magazine out there, period.
Oh, I believe that for sure. Yeah, I mean, there are people outside of Texas that get Texas Fishing Game, but I mean, as far as our coverage and everything else, we're the largest magazine in the state of Texas, but I mean, it's just amazing the amount of knowledge I've picked up over the years from other articles that I've read to go into other articles that I've written again, you know? I mean, it's right.
Great. And we have such good contributors. I mean, you, me, whatever, beside the point, but we're talking about Lou Murillo. I mean, if you've read any of his stuff, I mean, my goodness, you know the wealth of knowledge this man has. Yeah. And I had the opportunity to do a little turkey hunting with him last year, and I was just blown away by this man. He was just a great humanitarian, a great man. Ted Nugent, I mean, controversial and everything as Uncle Ted is. We don't always see eye to eye on our own subjects, but my goodness. I mean, the man tells it like it is, and once again, I look to him for my inspiration on, you know, being not scared of the controversy, not being scared of saying what I think, saying what I want. And the way I look at it, as long as you say things articulately and from an educated point of view, it's hard for people to do anything but just come at you with personal attacks.
That's right. And if you state your point well.
Yeah, attacks go off of him like water off a duck's back. You know, so, you know, we've got, you just name it. I mean, my goodness.
Doug Pike, Joe Doggett. Yeah, the whole cast.
Doggett, man. Yeah. And Williams and Calixto. Yeah. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah. They're all great.
Excuse me if I don't pronounce his name right. That's a hard one on me.
That's good. No, that's fine.
But, you know, these are guys that I'm so honored to now be in the ranks of, because I read them for years.
Right.
You know, I read these guys like, oh my gosh, the new Texas Fishing Game is here. Oh my gosh. You know,
I gotta read this
sit
stuff.
down and read it from cover to cover.
Yep.
And now to see my name, and then this month, I had no clue that my teal hunting article was going to be on the cover.
I saw that. That's another reason why I wanted to have you on the show, because I saw you posted it on Facebook. I was like, yeah, Jeff's teal story made it in, so that's great.
And I'm sitting here, and my wife, you know, she's like, oh, you got your new Texas Fishing Game in the mail. And, of course, she chunks it to me. I look at the cover, and I'm like, what?
That's right.
You know, I'm like, I of course, you know, I mean, I have lots of articles in the magazine, but I've never had one on the cover. Right. And I'm sitting there, and I'm having a fit, and my wife's like going, what? I'm like, look at this. Look at the cover. And she's like, it's a duck, you know, and I'm like going,
it's my story.
Read it. And she's like, oh, did you write that? And I'm like going, well, yes, dear, I did, you know. And I'm just having a fit because, you know, to me, this is living a dream.
Yes.
As a kid that grew up reading magazines, I mean, I got my first outdoor magazine. A friend had a garage sale and didn't sell them and threw away a stack of outdoor magazines that were probably 3 feet tall, and they let me have them.
Wow.
I brought them home. Some of those magazines went all the way back to the late 60s, early 70s, a lot of them. And so I read those magazines from cover to cover. I read a lot of them till their covers fell off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so that was my first time reading an outdoor magazine. So now, people that I read and just idolized, Larry Wassoon and guys like that. Wow, I'm sitting here now and I'm writing alongside guys like that.
Yeah, that's the way I feel too.
And it's a dream come true.
I've looked up to guys like that and to get some feature articles and stuff like that. That's just great. So, yeah, no, that's wonderful. Well, listen, man, we're at an hour, I think, of us talking, which has been great. Tell folks how to get a hold of you.
When you're talking to good people.
Yeah, I love talking to you. You were a great interview, I got to say. Tell folks how to find you on social media, where you're at, what your handle is, that kind of stuff. Again.
Well, of course, everybody can go to fishgame.com and look up my articles, read my articles, read Dustin's articles. We're all on fishgame.com. That'd be the best place to find us and read what we write. I can also be found on social media at Jeff Crypto Hulk Stewart.
I love that
on
middle
Facebook.
Name. Yeah, Crypto
and
Hulk.
I'm on Instagram as Jeff Crypto Hulk Stewart. Twitter, same thing. Just any of those things you can find me on. Just about everything that has an outdoor heartbeat. If you look hard enough, you'll find where I've commented or wrote something on it. So.
That's
basically, look up fishgame.com. That's going to be the best thing. Read what we say, because there's just the best group of people right there that there is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Get those kids out there, get them in the woods, get them on the water. If nothing else, sit them down in front of the TV and get on YouTube and go show them some of those old Virgil Ward and some of those old Mutual of Omaha videos and things, and see if you can spark something in them.
Some Fred Bear videos too. That never
Fred
hurts.
Bear, man. Oh, man. You ain't
old
kidding. Howard Hill. Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
The old Howard Hill videos of him shooting people throwing aspirins in the air, and he was shooting them, way back then, or shooting bowfishing. Howard Hill bowfishing, shark swimming by, and he's shooting a shark with a wooden arrow, things like that.
Yep, that's really
Get
cool.
those kids, show them those things.
Sure.
Because those things are going to be gone before long. You won't even be able to find them on YouTube and things before long, because somebody's going to claim they're too violent or too whatever. It offends somebody. It triggers something.
They're what we grew up with, for sure. So, but no, that's great. You've been a great interview. Thanks a lot for your service in the Hurricane Harvey recovery efforts and rescue efforts and everything. I can't thank you enough for doing that. And, I can't thank you enough for being on the show with me, man.
My pleasure, man. I enjoyed it as much as you did. I hope.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there he goes, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jeff Stewart, Mr. Jeff Crypto Hulk Stewart, I should say. You find him on Instagram or find him on Facebook. I follow him mainly on Facebook, and he's just got some great stuff. He also, as he talked about in the podcast, made the cover for this issue of Texas Fishing Game Magazine, and I've got that right behind me here on a story on duck hunting, teal hunting. And cover story and the cover shot was dedicated to that story as well. So this is a really good issue to read for the September issue if you get Texas Fishing Game. And if you don't, what is wrong with you? You need to go subscribe right now. I'm sorry, just kidding. But seriously, subscription to Texas Fishing Game for a year is like $19.95. You can order it at fishgame.com. Get the digital version as part of the print version as a value added, and you can read it on your phone through the Texas Fishing Game app. You can also be notified about news that's on the website at fishgame.com every day through the app. There's a news feed section for that, and we really work hard on that digital issue every month, and really think you'll enjoy the different multimedia components of that as well. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to the Best of the Outdoors podcast. You get a new episode every 2 weeks is what we're doing these for right now, and really have a lot of fun doing this show for you guys. Really get to pour my heart out to the world on these podcasts about, things about the outdoor lifestyle, and hopefully give you some hope and inspiration to go out and do your own outdoor adventure and have your own best of the outdoors out there, and really have a lot of fun doing that. So please subscribe. You can subscribe through iTunes. You can also subscribe through Podbean, which is the place that hosts our podcast, and that's podbean.com. And then our page is thebestoftheoutdoors.podbean.com. You can go online and check that out, and that has all of our episodes since we started this bad boy back in 2015. And so I love doing this show. I don't know if you can tell in my voice, but I'm constantly, inspired every week to bring this show to you because it's always something unique and awesome to showcase and bring to your listening ears, however you're listening to us. Thank you so much for doing so. So that all being said, I just wanted to thank you guys again for your support of this podcast. Please tell a friend, share this on social media if you want to. That would help us grow the show organically, and things are growing pretty fast right now, but I'm really liking to keep the steam on that train and just continue to inspire you to tell other people about the show so they can tune in. Again, our two charities I wanted to bring to your attention are Operation Airdrop. That's operation-airdrop.com. You can support them through the pilot effort that is helping with the Hurricane Harvey recovery. And then BayouCityRelief.com. Bayou is B-A-Y-O-U, cityrelief.com. Helping Houston, helping the surrounding area that was affected by the flooding, especially the flooding, but certainly the hurricane as well. I've spoken to people in Corpus Christi and Port Aransas and Aransas Pass and all those areas that were affected by the hurricane and had some kind of devastation of some kind in that vicinity. So wanted to definitely bring those to your attention. Hopefully you will help out that way, or any other charity that you know of to support. Please do so. We certainly need it here in Texas, and want to definitely bring up that to inspire you to go do something to be part of the change and the recovery efforts. So thank you so much again for watching. Thank you so much again for reading. Thank you so much again for listening, and have an awesome day in the outdoors.